And now I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on leadership and development, prioritizing your time effectively. I'm going to hand things over to our featured presenter. He is executive leadership coach and professional development consultant, Mr. Brian Ackles. Brian, you now have the floor.
Kelly, thank you very much, and thank you all for joining in today and talking and listening to me talk about time and prioritizing your time. This is one of those areas where it's easy to talk about how to prioritize time. It's easy to talk about being more effective. We're going to focus today on introducing some of the ways to improve your time management, to improve how you prioritize your work, how you're organized, your basic organizational skills, dealing with workflow, and dealing with productivity. Now, we're going to take a very light touch on all of these 5 areas, so bear with me. But let's jump in and start talking about time. What is time? What is time when it comes to work? Time is something that everybody says they don't have enough of. It's a very finite resource. We can't buy more time. We have to use the time that we have. Right? We don't want to spend all of our waking hours working. We don't want to spend all of our waking hours not working, for that matter. We need to create ways to use this finite and incredibly valuable resource in the best way possible, and use it in a way that benefits not only ourselves, of course, but also benefits the organization, benefits our teams, benefits our customers, and benefits our clients. So we're going to find ways to help you manage time, and maybe managing your time is absolutely crucial to accomplishing great results and delivering great products and services. The more rushed you are, the more harried you are at work, the more likely, I won't say mistakes can happen, but maybe, yeah, mistakes can happen. Oversights can be made. And I can give you a very clear example of that. I had a quote from a major supplier for the organization that I'm working with right now. And the quote came in at quite a large number. It was a seven-figure quote. And we made some changes to it. And this guy came back and said, oh, I surely shouldn't work when I'm in the car or when I'm on the road, because I didn't realize that I'd quoted you in US dollars and I'm in Canada. So I need quotes in Canadian dollars. I need to understand the translation. So any cost savings I was hoping to get were kind of offset because of his mistake, his rushing to get something done, and his not taking the time and the due care and attention to accomplish something. So I hope he's listening today. I don't know that he is, but if he is, maybe he can use some of these skills and some of these tools as well. We're going to focus on, and we're going to talk about the 80-20 rule. Right? This is probably the biggest single factor that we deal with in our working lives, and it's a basic given. 20% of the things that you do in any given day actually yield about 80% of the results that you're seeking. And if you think about that for a second, that's a pretty powerful statement. 20% of your actions yield 80% of the results. So where should you be focusing your actions and focusing your time? So if you look back and you look at your organization and you look at what the strategy and what the goals are for your organization, what your goals are for your team and for your group, you should really be focusing your actions on those goals, because they're going to yield the greatest results for you and for your organization. So think about that. 20% of your actions are going to yield 80% of the results. Now, you still got to find a way to achieve the other 20% of your results, but that's where the time management, workflow management, productivity all comes into play as well, helping you understand where you need to spend your time and using tools to find a way to do it better. Now, before we start talking about using tools in different ways, there are 1,000 programs out there that'll tell you how to manage your time. They're very prescriptive. They say, if you do this, 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 and this, you will be better at managing your time. What I say to you is that you need to look at how your own work life is, how your own work-life balance is. We'll look through a number of tools and a number of suggestions, a number of ways of prioritizing and managing time, but pick and choose what is going to work for you. There are some things which will definitely be of benefit to pretty much everybody. Other things won't work for you. Other things will work for you and for you, but not for others. The biggest thing that we have today in work is a calendar. I don't know how many people still use a paper-based calendar or paper-based journal. I certainly don't. I haven't for years. Everything is online. I'm either working off of a tablet, or I'm working off my laptop, or I'm working in the office where I have access to everything anyways. The thing is, I always have my calendar up and available to me to see what's actually coming up. And my calendar is set up to give me notifications well enough in advance so that I can prepare for it. You need to be able to access your calendar quickly and easily, because if you're like me, you've got 1,000 things on the go, and you don't necessarily remember that, oh man, I've got an appointment in 20 minutes and I'm 30 minutes away. So, you need to be able to set up and understand and have those reminders coming up with you. So keep your calendar with you. In your calendar, list what you need to be doing on a particular day, in a particular week. If you're doing any traveling, you're looking at a week ahead or 2 weeks ahead to make sure that you've got your travel lined up. If you're working with people, you've got appointments either within your own building, or if you've got to travel within a campus, or you've got to travel off-site to a customer meeting. Make sure that you allow travel time when you're booking the appointments. If your appointment with a customer is at 3 o'clock and you get a notification at 2:45 and you're half an hour away, that's not going to do you much good. Keep notes. I know the slide says avoid notes, but avoid notes if you're using a paper-based calendar. Keep a separate notes section. I still actually carry a hard copy notebook with me, because there are times when it's less obtrusive for me to bring a notebook out in a meeting and scratch a few things down than it is to use a tablet or to use my laptop. So variations on a theme. But if you have a paper-based calendar, don't keep your notes on the calendar. Keep access to all your contact details. Again, make them handy. We're all using tools like Microsoft Office, we're using Google Apps or whatever. So all of these tools are integrated and they're all available to you as long as you have access to them. Now, if you're going somewhere where you don't know that you're going to be able to access the net or access your own company intranets, again, print out a page, print out your calendar and bring it with you if you need to. Make sure you've got the information at hand. Start creating rituals for yourself. I have, over many years, figured out how I work best. Some of us work really, really well in the afternoons. Some people work, better in the evenings. I'm a morning person. Right? I get up stupid early. I like the morning. It's quiet. My brain, I can concentrate on things. I'm usually at my desk by 6 or 6:30 in the morning, by my choice, because that gives me the time to go through and triage, the 100 or 200 emails that have come in from 5 o'clock the day before when I left work. And yes, I typically leave work late because I come in early, but that's another story, until the following morning. Right? There's always a bunch of people that are either sending me information, copying me on things, making sure I have access to what they're doing, or directly asking me to action something that's important to them and maybe is important to me as well. But I have to triage that every day, because by 5 o'clock, my rule and my habit and my ritual is that I have to have a clean inbox. So I have to start doing that, and I have to be able to do that in the morning to get it cleaned up so I can also keep up with what's happening during the day. So creating a ritual improves time management. I mean, for me, my ritual in the morning is I go in and I triage my emails. I set aside time during the day to go back and look at emails, but I set particular blocks. I do not look at them as they come in during the day. And the thing is, with creating a ritual, it takes time. When you first start to decide that, okay, well, okay, I am actually a morning person, or no, I like to clean up my emails at the end of the day. So let's take that as an example. So be disciplined. Set up some time in your calendar. Set an hour at the end of your day and say, this is my time to make sure that I've gone through and I've answered, I've actioned, I've delegated, I've taken care of everything that's happened and everything that's come into my inbox. It'll take time to create the ritual. You will work at it. You will have to be disciplined over it for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months, but it will become habitual after some time. You know, habits are what we're trying to create here. Really good working habits. Prioritize your time. And that sounds trivial and it sounds easy. And we will talk more about this. But the thing is, there's everybody else in the organization is trying to take your time. They're trying to get you to do things that's on their calendar and that's on their agenda. You need to understand what it is that you're responsible for and what your priorities are. So you have to take charge of this. You know, if somebody wants you in a meeting, look critically at the meeting. Is this something which you need to attend? Is this something which, you know, they're inviting you because they've always invited you, but it really doesn't matter to what you and your team is doing. If it's only a nice to have, if it's only a nice to do thing, you know, use your time in other ways. So start experimenting about how other people are trying to grab your time and how you need to spend your own time, how you need to prioritize. And prioritization means going back and looking at what it is you're responsible for. That's important to start with. Know what you're responsible for. Know what your team is responsible for. Know what your management expects of you. So you have those 3 criteria, and then you prioritize and you triage all of these requests for your time against those criteria. So it's basically linking back to the strategy, to the organization, to the goals, and you're prioritizing your time based on that. And again, take some time to experiment how best to do this. Some people will expect you to go to their meetings because you've always gone. But you may not need to, and you may have to have those discussions with people about how things need to change so that you can take back some level of control. You will probably never be completely in control of your time, and that's a given. We're always surprised. There's always the unexpected things happen. This is not meant to get you into a mindset where you've got to, you know, be a robot and you can only do things that are set in set segments of time. It's just a guide to help you start thinking about what you need to do. So tools that we can use to do this is this idea of the urgent and important matrix. So you start categorizing the demands on your time as either urgent or important. They might be both or they might be neither. So what are urgent activities? Urgent activities, they demand your attention. Then they're urgent, but are they urgent to you? Or are they urgent to somebody else? And that helps you make a distinction. So if they're not urgent to you and they're not directly aligned with your own goals, then that gives you some clues about how you might prioritize them. If they're important activities that lead to achieving your goals, these are the ones that are going to have the greatest impact. So we're back to the 80-20 rule. These are important things that you're going to be spending the 20% of your time on is going to achieve the greatest impact. So what the matrix looks like is you have the 2 top lines as urgent and important. Now those are the things that you really want to concentrate on, top left. But above the line as well is important but not urgent. So these are important tasks, but they don't need to be done right away. You do need to plan to do them, but not right away. Now we start getting down into the yellow quadrant in the bottom left. Urgent but not important. So again, these are urgent to somebody, but they're not important to you. Now you may get to them, and you will have, you know, if it's something that your boss is asking you for, if it's something that a trusted colleague is asking you for, and that you can help out with, right? I'm not saying that you should never do this, but again, put it in your list of priorities. It may be that you can set aside time every day or, you know, a couple days a week when you can deal with those urgent but not important matters. And the thing is, the last one is, and this is the trap that gets all of us, if it's not urgent and it's not important, why are you doing it? That's the big question. And those are the tasks and those are the demands on your time that you just need to get rid of. If someone's asking you to do something, but it's not urgent and it's not important, file and forget it. Delete it. Let them know that thanks very much for the information, and move on. Get it out of your inbox. Get it out of your life. Get it out of your work life. And this really leads into this idea of starting to become more assertive in how you create your own space and how you prioritize and manage your time. So one of the biggest things that we forget is that if we tell people honestly why we're doing something or why we're not doing something, if we take the time to engage with them and talk to them, we actually build empathy with that person, right? Clarify why you're doing something later or not at all. Build the case for it and have a discussion with them. Now, this is really getting into the urgent tasks that aren't important to you. So clarify, again, find out what's going on. Build alternatives for these people. Like, what else needs to be done? Where else might they be able to get help with what they're asking you to do? And if absolutely necessary, just say, I'm sorry, I just don't have the time. I appreciate your asking me. I would love to help you, but I'm buried with all of these projects. I had this discussion with my boss, quite honestly, yesterday morning. I have a major program of work I'm responsible for in addition to my normal day job as a director in a company. And between now and the end of the year, pretty much the only thing I can concentrate on is this major program of work, because there's a hard deadline on a contract. It can't be late. And I had that discussion with my boss yesterday. It was very factual. He perfectly understands what's going on. And his response to it was very mature and tells me that I'm working with the right people. He said, that's great. I perfectly understand. We're in the middle of budgets. I don't think I need anything else from you, Brian. But if I do, I'm just down the hall. I'll come and ask you, and we can deal with it right away. So again, he's respecting my time. He's respecting my priorities because he understands what has to be done and also understands for the good of the organization. So the bottom line is, the person that's in charge of your time is you, right? You need to take control of this. Now, that being said, there's still the boss, right? There's still the organization. There's still the people that you report to, which will dictate to you where you will spend your time. Fair enough. That's what they pay you for. But if they're telling you where to spend your time, then I would argue that it's both urgent or at least important, and it's important to them, so that means it's important to the organization. There's a lot of nuances around that we won't get into in this webinar, but I'm sure there's already questions popping up in your head about that. So plan wisely. Plan about how you're going to do things every day. So try to be consistently productive. And what I mean by that is, try and do the things that are going to have the greatest impact every single day on your organization, on your own work, on your team's work, on your ability to deliver products and services. Use your plan to motivate yourself. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but if you've laid out what you want to accomplish and you work through that list of tasks, and you're working through your calendar, and you're working through your meetings, you're working through your to-do lists, that's a list that you can use to say, you know what, I'm actually getting stuff done. Because I know, like me, like all of us, we get to the end of the day some days and go, what have I actually done? Because we haven't taken the time to actually, one, plan what we're supposed to be doing, and we're running around and being a bit chaotic. But if we actually have a plan and we have a list of things, and we can say, okay, you can actually go back to that at the end of the day on those days where you feel you feel that you haven't accomplished anything, and go back and look at your list and went, wow, I actually did all these things. And now that I think about it, I did 3 or 4 more things as well. That's a huge motivator. It's telling you that you've planned your day, you've executed on your day, and you've actually achieved a lot. Now, if you're starting out and if you're really having a struggle with time management and prioritizing your time effectively, when you start trying to implement these things, you will probably overcommit yourself. And that's okay. Understand that you may be overcommitting yourself, and as you work through your days and as you work through the weeks and as you work through the months of becoming more and more disciplined, you'll come to a greater understanding about what you are actually capable of doing in a given day. And you can adjust your planning and adjust your lists appropriately. Break things down into smaller tasks. So if you've got a really large project, a large item, or a large task that you need to get done that's on your list and it's just dragging you down, break it, if you can, into smaller, more discrete elements that will build up to actually complete what you need to actually do. Now, the bottom line is, with everything, make sure that you get something done. Excuse me. Make sure that you do certain things to get something done every day. Now, the slide says, do at least 3 things. Well, 3 is just an arbitrary number. It could be 3, it could be 30, right? But whatever you do, when you commit to doing something, and make sure that you're actually accomplishing the things that you're committing to do. And we'll talk a bit more about prioritizing that as well, because there are different ways of looking at this and different ways of prioritizing as well. And again, go back to that urgent, important matrix. That's the first level of breaking this down. So plan wisely. So use a journal, whether it's an online journal. I use Notes in Microsoft Office because we're a Microsoft Office shop. I find it integrates well with the rest of our applications, and I use it mercilessly. Sometimes I overuse it. I've got way too many notebooks open at times, but hey, that's the way it goes. It helps me prioritize my tasks, right? So I've got a checklist. I've got things that I know that I have to get done. Now, when I started doing this many years ago, and I started trying to find different ways to motivate myself and find different ways to track the work that I was doing, I wrote down everything that I had to do. And it became that the job of writing it down, the job of actually listing out all the things that I had to do, exhausted me. And it became depressing because it seemed like I had way too much to do. But then I started to realize that what I'm really trying to focus on now, or what I really have to focus on, is what are the tasks that actually matter? Write those down, get them done. If there are due dates against things, make sure that those dates are listed. So that if you have to have something done by, well, let's not talk about this week because it's Thanksgiving week in the US, but say you have to have something done by Thursday, the 29th of November, and it's due at noon on Thursday, the 29th of November. Make sure that's noted wherever you're tracking your tasks. It's a reminder to you that it's got to get done. Now, I play games with myself because I know that I'm a bit of a procrastinator. So if I know something is due at noon on the 29th, I'll actually make sure that I have it finished by close of business on the 28th, so that I've got the time to do it, and I've got a little extra time just in case. Because there's always going to be something else that's going to pop up on the morning of the 29th, which will stop me from finishing what I have to get done. Those are just tricks that you use for yourself. In your journal, however you keep your notes, note any dependencies that you have on the tasks that you're responsible for, the tasks that you're managing. Are you relying on information from somebody else, and do you need it at a particular time? Make a note of that. Oh, Susan needs to give me her report by Thursday if I'm going to get my stuff out by next Tuesday. Stephen needs to finish his configuration or his requirements document before I can actually create the project plan. He's supposed to give that to me by a week Friday, so I can have another week or 2 weeks to, you see how this all goes. understand what those dependencies are. Start mapping them out. Start drawing yourselves diagrams if the tasks are complex. And this goes back to breaking those bigger tasks into smaller pieces. Will help you identify some of those dependencies. If you're setting up something on a daily basis, like a daily to-do list or a weekly to-do list, and you don't get everything done, that's okay. Because again, there's reasons why things don't get done. Make sure you carry those items over though. But when you carry them over, again, look back at this important and urgent matrix to say, is this something which is supporting your goals and your team's goals and your organization's goals, or is it supporting somebody else's goals? Again, use it as a constant form of triage. So maximize the power of how you organize yourself, whether it's through a journal or through your notes or however. But before you leave work, try and have at least the basis of your plan for the next day in place. Now, again, for me, I don't do that. I do it in first thing in the morning because that's when I work my best. I can see what I have to do. Now, I've got an ongoing list and I transfer things around. Oh, excuse me for a second. I'm just going to get a glass of water. Sorry, my apologies for that. So, we've always got our lists going. We've always got our lists in place, and we're carrying things over. So when you're planning for your day, again, keep rolling the list forward. Make sure that you're checking things off as you're getting them done. And that will help you gain a sense of satisfaction, and it actually becomes quite a strong motivator. Now, the bottom line is, if you've postponed doing things, and if you've set dates for things to be done, but you have postponed them, and if you've postponed them more than 3 times, do you think you're really going to do them? Probably not. So you'll probably want to remove them from your list, and you'll need to be talking to the person who either has assigned you the task or is expecting something from you, and you may want to revisit this to find out what the actual issue is, what the task is actually for. So again, use it as a way to keep motivating and keep track of what you're doing. Chunk, block, and tackle. So chunk things up into smaller tasks. 15-minute tasks, 20-minute tasks, half-an-hour tasks, whatever your span of concentration is. If you've got things that you have to get done, make sure that you block out the time to complete those tasks. So block out the time to complete each chunk. Then tackle each thing specifically and individually. Our brains are not wired to multitask. And everybody talks about multitasking. Everybody says you can do 2 or 3 things at once. We actually can't do it well. We can concentrate on one thing. And if you've ever experienced that, the idea of getting into the zone, right? You start getting into doing something and you're only working on one thing, right? And if you get it done, you get a great sense of satisfaction because your brain has been fully engaged on just working on that one thing and you get it finished. And if you're totally in the zone, though, and somebody comes in and breaks your chain of concentration, if you're like me, you find that a bit annoying. So if you've got those tasks which you have to focus on, then take the time to break out enough time to be focused and get it done. I have an office. I can close my door. If my door is closed, people don't come in. I rarely do that, but if I have to work on something and I have to get it done, I will close the door, and that blocks out the distractions. It blocks out me noticing people walking by, and I can get the work done. So tackle each task specifically and individually. Try not to jump around between tasks. If you need to work on a bunch of things during a day, then you need to work on them either sequentially or you need to work on them I won't say at the same time, but if you need to work on a bunch of things in the morning, work on each one 15 minutes at a time. Eventually you'll get to the end of them. But chunk your tasks up into manageable time units. Now, with this ready, aim, fire, don't overplan your actions. So you're ready to do things, but by the time you start doing things, the target of what you're trying to get accomplished may have changed. So plan generally. As you get closer to when things need to be done, you get a bit more specific. But account for any changes in the organization or changes in the target. And this is particularly important when you're into project management and managing, basically in managing projects, managing something towards a customer. Targets can move. Remember that the 80-20 rule, 20% of your actions is generating 80% of the results. So again, making sure that you're spending most of your time, or the 20% of your time is on the greatest percentage of the work that you have to get done. And make new plans based on new information. Right? So remember, this is ready, fire, aim, not ready, aim, fire. And this is the difference. You will have to adapt. You will have to change, and you will have to change your daily plan. You will have to change how your calendar is structured. And that's not the end of the day. If you have built your time management and you've built your prioritization systems and you've built the habits that you need to have to manage the workload, then adapting to something also means that you've built things that are not rigidly in place. Because what I would like you to try and avoid is having a rigid process. Have something that works for you, but something that is flexible and something that will adapt to this changing environment that we work in. I don't know about you, but in any given day or any given week, 3 or 4 things will change, and 2 or 3 of those will be pretty significant changes that I have to adapt to, and I'm sure the same thing happens with you. Things change. It's just the nature of the environments that we work in now, and it doesn't matter what industry we're in, things change. So organizing your workspace. This is a bit of a bugbear of mine, and I'm a bit overreactive on this, I suppose. I'm a huge fan of a clean workspace. We have a absolute ton of electronic tools available to us to manage information. And essentially, what we're doing on any given day in any particular job is managing information. I don't do paper. I wear it on my sleeve. You walk into my office, there might be one journal on my desk that I haven't read yet that got mailed to me. I rarely print something out unless the process requires that I actually physically sign something. Otherwise, my desk is clean. I don't like the distractions of a messy desk. Now, that's me. But being organized for me is very important, because when I'm disorganized, when things aren't where I need them to be, it throws me off track. Now, maybe that I'm a bit OCD in this. Okay, fair enough. I've self-admitted. But my ideal environment is a clean, tidy workspace. I know where everything is. My desktop is relatively clean and organized. My email folder is relatively clean and organized. But I know where it is. But for you, create what works for you. Create an environment that allows you to be productive. Make sure you've got the tools you need to be productive. And if you haven't got them and they're available in your organization, ask for them and get them. If they're not available and they're not available in your organization, find a way to work around it. And take control of the workflow. How do things come into you? I talked earlier about, managing emails, and I don't do emails all day, because if you do emails all day, all you do is emails. You don't actually do anything else. So maybe email is the bulk of your work. Fair enough. I chunk my emails into trying to do them in the morning, middle of the day, and the afternoon. And again, to make sure that I'm leaving with things cleaned up. For you, again, find out what works for you in terms of the workflow and understand how work is coming at you. Who is giving you the bulk of the work? Like, do you know where it's coming from? Are your emails coming from your boss? Are they coming from another organization? Are they coming from another group? Are they coming from your customers? Is the information coming at you through messaging systems, through colleagues scattered around the world? Understand where this how this information is coming to you, and try and get to grips with how to manage that information and manage all the demands on your time. So if you have a task and it can be done quickly, do it. Just finish it. It's the 1 or 2 minute rule. If you've got something, if someone's asked you to do something and it's going to take you like 1 or 2 minutes, just get it done. Get it out of your way and finish it. Delete it. If stuff you're getting is junk to you, or it's just not important, get rid of it. If it's something you might use later on, I'm going to come back to this in a second. If you might use it, file it. But at some point in the future, go through those files. And if you haven't used it, get rid of it. Delete it. Don't clog up the systems. If the task is something that you can't do quickly, but you need to do, defer it. But defer it with a note. This is where your task management really comes into play and prioritization comes into play. You've made a decision now that it's something that does have to be done, but it's not hugely important, or it's not as important as other things. So put it on your list, put it in your journal, put it on your to-do list, your task list, however you're managing it, and put a date on it though. Put a date on when you're going to start it and when it's got to be finished by. If it's something that it's not yours to do, and this is really important for managers, for leaders, don't do everything yourself. Delegate it to others. If it's something that is best done by your team, that's what your team is there for. Right? Don't take on and do everything yourself. This is really more of a trap for new managers, where people are trying to still do their jobs and manage the team as well. Well, you need to start delegating and letting go. So if it's not yours to do, delegate it out to people. But again, I mean, the delegation process is also a process of keeping track of when it should be done, because it's still a task that came to you. And ultimately, it's your responsibility as a manager or a leader to make sure it gets done. So the little things, as I said, if you can do something quickly, get it done, because it's a great feeling of relief when you knock off 40 or 50, small things in an hour, if they're just the little 1 minute things. Delete it, defer it, or delegate it. Managing your workflow. Managing your email, wow, and we've talked about this a lot. Again, the four Ds: do, delegate, defer, and delete. And again, batch your emails throughout the day, create folders and files that work for you, create email rules that work for you. I have several automated rules I set up because of information I get from suppliers, information I need to have and I need to make sure my team has, but I don't need to see it when it comes in. All I need to do is I need to keep an electronic record of it. So I do it automatically, defers to another mailbox, easy rules to set up. For me, and for the people that I talk to about how they manage their time, they keep their inbox tidy. It's really important that you manage this to a way that suits you. Now, tidy inboxes means that you're on top of the work that's coming in. I work with people and I look at their inbox and they've got a number like 1,200 unread emails. So if they've got 1,200 unread emails, they haven't managed their communications. They haven't followed the 4Ds, right? So get it cleaned up, keep it out of the way. My rule of thumb is when I open my inbox in the morning or when I close my inbox at night, there should be no more than one page on my screen. That should be it. That should be my total inbox. And the closer that is to zero, the happier I am. Because again, the next day it all starts again anyway. So that's the way it is. And procrastination, well, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you just have to move on and not do something. Now, Dysfunctional procrastination is a bad thing. So this is where you're looking at your critical and important tasks and you're just not getting stuff done. And you've got to really sit back and ask yourself why. So if you find yourself knowing and feeling guilty about not doing something that is critical and important, urgent and important, maybe it's just too big to get your head around. So go back to what we talked about earlier. Take that big thing that you're procrastinating about and try and break it into smaller pieces. And if you're having a challenge doing that, ask somebody else for their advice. Talk to your boss, talk to a trusted colleague, talk to your team. Right? Find a way to break things down into tasks which are more manageable, that you can actually accomplish. You can't put off the things that are important, and you can't put off the things that are critical. They've got to get done. Sometimes they're not the most pleasant things in the world to get done. Sometimes they're critical and important tasks that are administrative in nature, but they still have to get done. You know, as managers and leaders, depending on how your resource management system works, how you deal with employees, your employee management system, what kind of reviews you do on an annual basis. Sometimes creating those reviews, writing up, can be very difficult, but it's got to get done. It's critical and important to the organization and to your team members. So there's always things that you're going to be putting off. Find out why you're putting off the big things, break it down, and get them done. And again, the feeling of satisfaction as you complete something is a great, great, great motivator. So 9 ways to overcome procrastination. Delete it if you don't need to do it. Just get rid of it. Delegate it out to somebody else. If it's something that is not yours to do, delegate it to your team. Get it done. Just do it now. If it's a 2-minute thing, just finish it. Work on it for 15 minutes and then move on to something else. Chop it up into smaller pieces. Ask for advice. Make sure you understand what the deadline is so that you've set a clear deadline for yourself. This has to be done by close of day today. It's important that this person that's expecting this work gets this output by the end of the day today. Find a way to make sure that that happens. Reward yourself when you accomplish those big tasks. And what do I mean by reward yourself? I'm not saying go out and buy yourself a Maserati. Get up and get a cup of coffee. Go for a walk. Go walk across the hallway, walk across the office, and have a chat to somebody that you haven't talked to for a while, just to catch up. Go buy yourself a muffin. Do something to give yourself a small reward. And for those things you've got to get done that you procrastinate about, close the door. Book a meeting room for yourself to work in if you work in a cubicle farm. Find some way to remove the distractions. I have a colleague that wears sound deadening headphones, noise canceling headphones. He puts them on at work when he has to get stuff done. It works fine. If I need to get his attention, I send him an email. Or I go over and I knock on his headphones and it usually gets his attention. But different ways to help you find and overcome procrastination. Start with the hardest tasks. If you've got 2 things you have to do, the biggest and hardest thing, that's the one you want to start with. Don't go to the easy task first. Because if you keep doing the easy tasks, you're never going to do the hard one. Launch into the hard stuff. So as you start accomplishing and seeing some progress on the difficult task, it's going to start feeling good. Develop this into a habit. Start it off, start practicing it, develop it into a ritual, develop it into a habit. Don't put off the hard task. That's what you're paid to do. You're paid to do the hard things. You're paid to accomplish against the difficult tasks. If it was easy, anybody could do it. If it was hard, that's why they've hired you. So again, it's easy to put them off. It's important that you don't. The other thing about being organized and having good prioritization and management skills for time is when stuff goes sideways and you're handling a crisis, you'll be able to move pretty decisively and carefully because you understand your time. You understand what you're doing and how you're doing it. So when you have a crisis and when the storm hits, find out what happened, what were the causes, what happens next, what's the impact, and who needs to know something. So again, these are ways to help you manage your time when something goes sideways. We've talked about this earlier. Things always go unexpectedly at work. Something will always happen. I work in an industry which is concerned with public safety in Canada. And typically what happens is at 5 o'clock on a Friday evening is when everything hits the fan. And something bad happens with the technology my teams are responsible for. And it's not technology that we can wait to fix on Monday. It's got to be dealt with and managed until it's resolved. And always on a Friday. I call it Telecom Fridays. But that's the way it is. But there's a plan. We have plans in place. We understand what happened. We understand what causes it. We have broad stroke plans to say, what do we have to do and who needs to know? But that only really works if you have a good understanding of your environment, you have a good understanding of your workflow, and you have a good understanding about how you have managed your time so that you don't leave something hanging to deal with the crisis. You can actually park something, deal with the crisis, and then go back to it. So it's all about creating plans to help restore order, and prioritizing and managing your time effectively is about restoring order in your life. So we want to have some ability, again, to get through our days, get through our weeks, get through the years, and be productive, feel satisfied with our work, be motivated by our work. And we do this by creating some level of planning to help you gain control over your time. So identify where you have a problem. If it's a problem with answering emails, identify that. Start looking at, okay, what am I doing and why do I have such a problem at emails? Go back and look through the 4 Ds. Go back and look through the urgent important matrix. Decide on a solution that you want to try. And I'm not saying it's going to be the first solution you try is going to be the one that's going to work, but try something. Break that solution down into pieces and start tracking your success against it. So create a plan. Work towards the plan. If you have multiple areas you want to work on, I would strongly suggest you do one thing at a time. Address one area of time management before you move on to the next. But build a plan and start executing towards the plan. When you're in a crisis situation, always take the time to step back and take a lessons learned, because those lessons learned will maybe help you avoid crises in the future. Think about how you communicated. Think about how you could have avoided this going forward. But again, all this also comes back to your own time management. When you do something and you make a change in how you manage and prioritize your time, and if something doesn't work, stop and do the same thing. Lessons learned. What did work? What didn't work? What do I have to adapt? How can you be better at what you're doing? All of this leads to building and increasing productivity, making your goals easier to reach. But it all takes commitment and it all takes patience. And again, you need to find the things that work for you. Prescriptive time management programs are probably most effective for people just entering the workforce, to give them, okay, so here's the rules, here's things you should do to make your life easier. As we grow and mature through our organizations and through our work lives, we find ways that work for us better as humans. Right? We adapt and we change and we find things that work. But it does require commitment. And if you're making changes, it does require patience. The last thing I'm going to rant on about here is the word should. I should fix my email. You'll never do it if you say you should do it. If you say, I'm going to work on my email and I'm going to start working on it on Thursday morning, then you probably will work on it. The word should constrains you from doing things. Use the word I will start something on a day at a time. If you say I should do this, you're saying, yeah, I should do this. I should probably get up earlier. I should go to the gym. I shouldn't drink during the week. I shouldn't spend so much time on Facebook. I shouldn't, or I should spend less time on Instagram. I don't know. Remove the word should, and you'll probably stop doing the things that you want to stop doing, and you will probably start doing the things that you want to start doing. And adapt. Internalize the changes. Use the Deming cycle of plan, do, check, and act. Right? Plan to do something. Plan what you're going to do it, check to see if it's working, and act on any changes that you need to do. This is a circle. It just keeps going around and around and around. It's not something you're doing every day, but it's something you're doing with your workflow, with your prioritization, with your time management. I learn new things every day. I learn new things from new colleagues that come into my workplace, how they do things. Some of them I try to emulate. Some of them I adapt into my routines. We can't be rigid about how we do this because our environments are constantly changing. And finally, last but not least, managing your time effectively helps you become more effective in your professional life, and it actually makes your job easier. In this last quote, things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. And on that note, I will say thank you. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, let me know.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian. And thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. If you guys have any questions, we'll stay on the line for a bit, so feel free to type those in now and we will address those. I also want to encourage you, if you are interested in any of the material that was presented in this webinar or any of our other available course offerings, please reach out to your local New Horizons rep. And if you are not familiar with who that would be, you can log on to newhorizons.com and do a zip code search to find the center nearest you. On newhorizons.com, you'll also find our Center for Leadership and Development that has courses such as Prioritizing Your Time Effectively. So you can find all information on that on our website as well. And I encourage you to sign up for more webinars. Brian joins us each month on a different leadership and development topic. So please sign up for those. They are all free to you, and you can also view past webinar recordings in our archive library. A couple of you have asked if you're getting the recording as well as the PowerPoint slide deck, and yes, I will be sending you a link to the session recording later today, and there will be a PDF document to the PowerPoint as well. All right, Brian, it looks like we do have a question here. This person is asking, they work in a cubicle environment and want to know how you deal with the challenge of distractions and other people breaking down your concentration. I know you addressed this a bit, but maybe a couple more tips.
Sure, and this is something which we've all dealt with, and I've certainly dealt with it as well. But I think some of it comes back to being assertive. If someone drops in and sort of is standing at the entrance to your cubicle and they say, "Excuse, have you got a second?" If you're focused on doing something, look up and say, "Actually, no, I don't. Can we make a bit of time maybe this afternoon?" That's one way of being professionally assertive. Just telling people honestly, no, I don't. I've got to get this work done, and that can be a distraction. If you work with people who are really noisy and really loud close to you, that can be another bit of a challenge. And if you have to get something done, if you find that you're being distracted and you're working on a difficult task, again, those are the ones you're doing first. Then try and book yourself a meeting room. If that's possible for you, if you've got the option to work from home at all, and again, work from home to concentrate on those more challenging tasks that might take some more time, certainly you can do that as well. So there's just different ways that you can do it depending on what the rules of your organization are.
All right. Thanks so much, Brian. It looks like that's going to wrap up today's session and any questions. So I appreciate you joining us, Brian. Thanks again so much.
Always a pleasure.
All right. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you all have a great rest of the week and will join us for future webinars. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.